The snow fell heavily on my body, cold, silent, relentless. But it wasn't the cold that hurt most. It was silence, because there was no one there, no one coming back. Nobody calling my name, no one sorry. They went away, all, and it wasn't fast, not impulsive. It was a decision. They looked at me lying on the floor bleeding, weak, and they decided that was the end. Not because I was dead, but because, for them, I no longer mattered. The air cut into my lungs with every attempt to breathe. Each movement was slower than the last. My body was giving up, but my mind still fought, still trying to understand how it all got to that point, like the same pack that once called me family. Now, she was responsible for leaving me to die alone. I tried to move my fingers, nothing. I tried to turn my face away, just pain. And then the memory came like a blade going through everything at once. The looks, the whispers, the muffled laughter. I always felt, I always knew that I was never like the others, but deep down, I still believed. That was accepted, that belonged, that had a place, until the day everything changed. It wasn't sudden. It was worse than that. It was slow, painful, inevitable. First came the different looks, then the silence when I entered, then the conversations that stopped, and then the comparisons, always with me. Always with her, stronger, more beautiful, more worthy. But everything I never was. And he never said anything. Never defended me, never denied. Just watched, as if that were normal, as if I were invisible. I remember exactly the moment I realized that I had already lost everything, even without knowing yet. That's when he looked at her and smiled a smile I never received. Never, and in that moment, something inside me broke. No sound, without warning, but completely still. I stayed believing. I could change. What could I prove that could be enough? But the more I tried, but they moved away, but I was ignored, but I was diminished, until it becomes just a weight, a mistake, an unwanted presence. And then the day came. The day it all ended, the day I ceased to exist for them. I was standing before everyone alone, while every look carried judgment, contempt, disgust. And when the accusation came, I couldn't even react, because deep down, I knew that no one there was interested in the truth. They had already decided, and he, the only one who could have changed everything, took a step back and turned his face. It was at that moment that I stopped fighting, not for lack of strength, but because there was no more reason. And when the order was given, nobody hesitated, nobody questioned, nobody cared. Take me and leave me in the forest, and so it was done. No goodbyes, no remorse, no turning back. Now their play in the snow, abandoned, like it never meant anything. I finally understood it was never about error. It was never about weakness. It was never about deserving. I was never one of them, and maybe was never meant to be. My breath hitched for a moment. The world began to darken at the edges, and for the first time, the fear disappeared. There was nothing left to lose, nothing to hope for, nothing to wish for, just the end. But then something has changed. Not in heaven, not in the wind, but in the air itself. The forest was silent, a heavy silence, different, wrong, like something is watching, as if something had arrived. And for the first time since I was left there, I felt that I was no longer alone. Even if you can't open your eyes completely, even though I can't move my body, reacted pure instinct. Something was there, something that didn't belong there, something that made even death itself seem small. The sound came first, steps, slow, firm, no rush, no fear. The snow gave way under every movement, as if recognizing, as if obeying. And then it stopped right in front of me. Time seemed to stop. My breath hitched again, but this time for another reason. Presence, power, danger. It was impossible not to feel, even on the brink of death, even without strength. I knew that wasn't normal. This was no ordinary person. And when I finally managed to open my eyes, even if just a little, I saw shadows, height, strength, and something in his eyes. Something that wasn't mercy. It wasn't compassion. It was interest, cold, intense, inexplicable. As if he was looking at something rare. Something that shouldn't exist. Something he didn't expect to find there in that state. Almost dead, abandoned cabrata, and still live. The silence between us was heavy, but it wasn't empty. It was loaded, as if something was about to happen. As if that moment changed everything without warning, no choice, no turning back. And then he said, low, controlled, dangerous, you shouldn't be alive. The sound of his voice still echoed inside me. You shouldn't be alive. every word seemed to weigh more than the cold itself. I tried to respond, but my lips didn't move. My throat made no sound. Everything in me was failing. One less thing, the instinct heat, danger. But it wasn't the same kind of danger I knew. It wasn't contempt. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't abandonment. It was something different. Something deeper, older, stronger. His footsteps got closer, slow, controlled, as if every move was calculated, as if he was in no hurry at all. As if you knew that I had nowhere to run. I felt his presence closer, very close. The air around me has changed, heavier, hotter, even though the snow is still falling. Even though my body is freezing, there was heat coming from him. I tried to open my eyes wider. My vision failed, but I could see enough dark boots marked by snow firm. And then he bent down slowly, without taking your eyes off me. I felt it before I even saw it. Something inside me reacted. My heart that was slowing down, that I was giving up suddenly. It hit harder once, then another, and another soar. Out of step but alive, his eyes met mine, and in that moment everything was silent. There was no wind, there was no snow. There was no pain, just that look, cold, deep, like it's going through everything. I was like, you're reading every piece of me, effortless, without permission. I tried to divert, I couldn't. Something held me there, something I didn't understand, something I've never felt before. He tilted his head slightly, as if analyzing, as if he was comparing what he saw with something I already knew. Or did you hope to find, but not there? Not like that you were abandoned. His voice was low, no emotion, but it wasn't a question. It was a realization. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't even have the strength for that. Abandoned, the word seemed too small. For everything that had happened, he kept watching, no rush, without hesitation, and then something changed. It was subtle, but I felt the way his gaze became more intense, more focused, as if I realized something I didn't even know existed. Interesting, this time there was something different in his voice. It wasn't common curiosity. It was something more dangerous, deeper. I tried to talk. I tried to say anything, but I only got a faint sound, almost non-existent. My breath hitched again. My body gave in a little more. And for a moment, I really found that was where it all ended. But then his hand moved, quick, need holding my face before I completely fall apart. The touch was unexpected, hot, strong, real. My body reacted immediately, as if that contact was the only thing keeping me there. How letting go means. Disappearing, his eyes narrowed, watching my every reaction, every detail. As if testing something, confirming something. You're still fighting. Almost a whisper, but loaded with something I couldn't identify. Admiration or interest, maybe both, I didn't know. But I knew one thing. He wasn't there by chance. Nothing about him seemed random. Not even the way you found me. Not even the way he looked at me. Not even the way he played. As if I had already decided something before I even understood what was happening. The snow kept falling, but it didn't feel so cold anymore. The world still turned, but it didn't seem so far away anymore. Because now, everything revolved around. His presence dominated everything. The space, the air, the thoughts I couldn't escape. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if he wanted. He got up slowly, still holding me. As if my weight didn't mean anything, as if I were light, as if it were easy, and maybe it was for him. I could barely stay conscious, but I felt it when I was lifted, when my body left the snow, when the cold started to move away, even if just a little, even if temporarily. My face pressed against something solid, hot, his chest, the sound of the beat, strong, constant, unshakable, completely different from mine, weak, irregular, almost non-existent. I held on to what little conscience I still had, trying to understand, trying to accept, trying not to faint. Why? It was the only thing I could think of. Why would someone like him, I would be there for me? He started walking without saying anything, without explaining, without looking back, as if there was no doubt, as if there was no choice, as if it had already been decided long before that moment. The forest seemed to open up, as if recognizing, as if you respected. No sound but his footsteps, no signs of life around. Nothing dared come closer, nothing dared interfere, and I trapped between consciousness and emptiness. I started to realize something that made my body react again, something stronger than the cold, stronger than the pain, stronger than fear, something that came from him, straight to me, a connection weak, confused, but undeniable, like an invisible thread, forming ligand of the two of us. I tried to ignore, I tried to reject, but I couldn't, because the more I resisted, but it became real, stronger, more impossible to deny. My breath hitched once again, but this time it wasn't because of death, it was because of him. And in the middle of that chaos between the end and something I still didn't understand, a single certainty began to form, fragile, dangerous, inescapable. My story hadn't ended in that snow. She was just starting to change, even though I didn't know yet what was I being led to. His body movement was constant, steady, impossible to interrupt. I no longer felt the snow, not even the wind. Not even the cold cutting my skin. Everything that existed now, it was his heat, the sound of your heart beating against my ear, and that overwhelming presence that seemed to occupy every space around me. I tried to open my eyes again. My vision still failed, but little by little shapes began to appear. Shadows of trees passing by, light filtering through the branches. The world still existed, but it seemed far away. As if I no longer belonged to him, as if I were already somewhere else. Even without arriving, my body was heavy, every second harder to sustain, but something kept me. Something that didn't come from me, I felt when he stopped suddenly without warning, as if he had decided at that very moment. My body was adjusted in his arms firmly, without exaggerated care, but also without brutality. It was control, pure control. He watched me again, closer, more attentive, as if waiting for some reaction, some change, something that confirmed what he already suspected. Breathe, his voice came. Direct, not as a request, but as an order. My body reacted. Before I even thought, I pulled the air. With difficulty, but I pulled, and then, again and again. As if that simple action depended on him, as if I just stayed alive because he decided. His eyes narrowed slightly. Satisfied, not with emotion, but with result. I tried to speak again, but this time, I got a little more. Why? The word came out broken, weak, almost non-existent, but enough. He didn't respond immediately, just kept looking at me, as if that question wasn't relevant, or maybe as if the answer were too obvious. For him, you survived. That's all he said, as if that explained everything, as if that were reason enough. But for me, it wasn't. None of it made sense. No one had ever chosen me, never, much less someone like him, someone who clearly didn't belong to the same world as me. He turned slightly, and it was then that I realized. The place, a building, appeared between the trees, big, ancient, imposing, but it wasn't just the size. It was the energy, heavy, dominant, as if every stone there carried power, as if that place had been built, not out of necessity, but by authority. My body reacted. A shiver ran through my skin, but it wasn't cold, it was instinct. Something inside me recognized, even without understanding. Danger, respect, submission, all at the same time. He started walking straight to that place, without hesitation, without slowing down. The doors opened before we even arrived. No touch, no ad, as if they were already waiting for him, or rather, as if they were always ready for him. As soon as we entered, the heat enveloped me. For real this time, strong, immediate. My body reacted like it was coming back to life, but at the same time, something else happened, something that made my breath catch. Looks. Many, all facing us, or rather for him, and then for me, confusion, distrust, shock. Nobody said anything, but I felt I shouldn't be there. Not in that place, not in his arms. His footsteps echoed through the space, highs firm, unquestioned. No one moved to stop, no one dared to question. It was as if his presence silenced any possibility of reaction. He climbed a staircase, without looking around, without slowing down. As if all that place, it was just an extension of him, as if everything existed there to serve it. Didn't take long until we entered an isolated space. One bedroom, big, simple, but charged with the same presence. He placed me on a soft surface. With controlled care, no rush, without hesitation. As soon as my body left his, the cold tried to return, even inside, even with the heat. Something in me missed, immediate, involuntary. I tried to ignore. But I couldn't. He remained there watching, without saying anything, without looking away. As if still analyzing, waiting, looking for something, and then someone came. In fast, but he stopped. As soon as he saw the scene, the eyes went straight to me then, for him. And the silence became even heavier. She doesn't belong here. The voice was firm, but loaded with tension. He didn't respond right away, just keep naked looking at me. As if the presence of the other was not relevant. She will live. That's all he said. Simple, direct, final. But there was something there, something that made the air change, something that made even those in the room hold your breath. It wasn't just a decision, it was an assertion of control. In possession of absolute authority, my body reacted again, even without strength, even without understanding. That connection came back stronger, clearer, more impossible to ignore. As if his every word reinforced that, as if every decision go even deeper. And for the first time since I was left in the snow, a thought crossed my mind, confused, dangerous, but impossible to stop. Maybe I hadn't been saved, maybe I had been chosen, and there was a huge difference between the two things, one that I still didn't understand, but it started to scare me. Much more than death ever scared. Maybe I wouldn't have been saved. The idea never left my head. She stayed there spinning, growing up, fitting into everything I was feeling, because none of it felt like rescue. There was no kindness, there was no comfort, there was no promise, there was a choice, and that was much more dangerous. My body sank into the soft surface, heavy, exhausted, but my mind wouldn't stop. Every place screamed power, and he didn't move, still there, observing, like I was something that needed to be understood before anything else. I tried to move a simple movement, but my body didn't respond like it used. There was something different, something strange, a weak energy, but present, running under my skin, as if waking up slowly, painfully. My breath hitched for a moment, and my eyes met his. He realized immediately. The eyes darkened, slightly more focused, more intense. Do you feel? It wasn't a question, it was direct, as if he already knew, as if I was just confirming. I tried to respond, but the word didn't come, so I just moved my eyes. As little as possible, but enough. Something inside me contracted. How would you react to him? As if recognizing something that I didn't understand, he took a step closer, his presence pressing the air, making everything seem smaller, tighter, harder to ignore. This shouldn't be happening. His voice was lower, but this time there was something there, something that seemed close to irritation or maybe frustration. I didn't understand, but I felt. And before I could think anymore, the pain came strong, sudden, taking my whole body like something is tearing inside, as if making space. Without asking permission, a sound escaped my throat, weak but real. My body arched, no control, and for a moment I thought it was going to destroy me, but it didn't. Transformed. The feeling changed, still intense, but different, hotter, more alive, as if something inside me was finally breathing. He got even closer, quick this time, without that slow control like before. His hand held my arm, steady, stable, keeping me from moving too much. Look at me. The order came heavy, unquestionable. I obeyed. Even if you don't want to, even without understanding, because it wasn't a choice. It was instinct. His eyes were different, darker, deeper, as if something in him was also reacting. As if that wasn't expected, not for him. This is not possible. Almost a whisper, but loaded with tension. I tried to breathe, but the air felt thicker, more difficult. The connection? She came back, but now I wasn't weak. It wasn't confusing. It was clear, strong, invasive. As if fixing, holding on, no chance of escaping. My heart raced, but not out of fear, not completely. It was something else, something I had never felt, something that kept me alert, but at the same time, prey. Linked to him, as if every beat responded to his presence. He slowly let go of my arm, but he didn't move away, as if still measuring, controlling, trying to understand. Who are you? The question finally came, but there was no common curiosity. There was a need. As if the answer matters more than it should, I tried to talk, but my voice was still weak. Cabrada, almost non-existent. Nobody. That's what I managed to say, because it was the truth. That's what I always was. Nothing. Nobody. Worthless. No place. But something in his eyes changed instantly. Rejection? No. That wasn't rejection. It was the opposite. It was refusal. As if he didn't accept that answer. As if she was wrong. Even though she was the only one I knew wrong. The word came out firmly, low, but absolute. Like everything about him, my body reacted again. That energy inside me moved stronger, responding, as if you agree with him, as if rejecting what I always believed. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to escape, but there was nowhere to go. When I opened it again, he still was there, closer than before. Your eyes locked on mine. Without deviating, without hesitation, as if it was decided, as if at that moment something had been defined irreversibly. The connection between us tightened, stronger, deeper, more real, and for the first time, a different fear arose. Not to be abandoned, not to be discarded, but not being able to escape. of whatever was starting there, because deep down, even without understanding, even without accepting, I knew that wasn't something I could break. And maybe had never been something I could avoid. Maybe it was never something I could avoid. The feeling was still there, steady gift, like an invisible chain, tightening tighter and tighter. The more I tried to ignore, the stronger she became. My body was still weak, but that energy inside me wasn't. She moved, it spread, as if waking up after a long time, and he was still there, observing every detail, every reaction, as if nothing escaped. As if everything matters, you are nobody. His voice came lower, but this time there was something different, something closer, more intense, as if every word had weight, as if I was being chosen with precision. You never were. My chest tightened, not for the pain, but for the impact, because those words went against everything I ever heard, against everything I ever believed. And still something inside me reacted, as if recognizing, as if accepting before I even understand. I looked away, not by choice, but because I couldn't support. There was something in his eyes, something that pulled me, that held me back, that exposed me, as if he saw beyond what I showed, beyond what I knew. Breathe. The order came again, but now my body didn't hesitate. The air came in deeper, like every breath is getting stronger, more stable. I felt my hands, fingers moving slightly for the first time. The snow. The feeling returned, weak but real. My heart accelerated, but this time not out of fear. It was something else, something that grew along with that energy, he realized. Of course you noticed. Nothing passed by him without being noticed. Good. That's all I said. But the tone, it wasn't relief, it was confirmation, as if I was waiting for that, as if it was exactly what I wanted to see. I tried to get up, impulse, instinct, but my body wasn't ready. Weakness pulled me back. And before I fall completely, his hand held me again. Fast, steady, effortless. My body froze for a second. Not by touch, but by the reaction. That connection exploded, stronger than before, more intense, more impossible to ignore. My breath hitched, and my eyes returned to his, very close now, too close, as if there was no space between what I was and what did he represent. Caution. His voice was low but loaded. It wasn't a concern, it was control, as if until my fall needed to be regulated for him. I tried to walk away. A small movement, almost non-existent, but he felt the eyes darkened slightly. Don't do this time. There was something more. Something harder, more direct, as a warning, or maybe an order that should not be tested. My body reacted before my mind stopped immediately, and that scared me more than anything so far, because it wasn't common fear, it was submission, instinctive, deep, as if something inside me had already recognized his place, and worse, as if I had already accepted. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to regain control, but the truth was already there. My body no longer responded, only to me, and he knew. I felt when his hand slowly let go, but he didn't move away completely, as if testing, as if he wanted to see. How far did it go? How far did I react? As far as that connection held up. Silence, heavy, loaded, but not empty, never empty when he was there. So the door opened again, the same smell, the same presence as before, the same voltage. Is still here. The voice came firmer now, less surprise, more resistant, as if it shouldn't continue, as if it were a mistake. He didn't look, didn't even respond immediately. It just stayed where it was, the eyes still on me, as if nothing else mattered, as if any interruption was irrelevant. She can't stay this time. There was urgency, and something more, fear. I felt, even without looking, even without fully understanding. They knew something I didn't know yet. He finally looked away, slowly, as if it were a choice, not a reaction. And then he spoke, calm, cold, final. He stays. The silence that came after it was different, heavier, denser, as if the air itself had been compressed, as if that decision had changed something bigger, something beyond that room. My body reacted again, the connection firmer, more deep, as if his every word held me even more. And for the first time, a new sensation arose. Don't be afraid. No pain, no confusion, but something dangerous, something I should never feel. Security, not because I trusted, not because I understood, but because he decided. And that somehow seemed to be enough, which only made everything even more wrong. And still impossible to deny. Impossible to deny. The word stuck in my mind, repeating, echoing, like everything inside me is being rewritten. Because none of it made sense, and still everything seemed right. My body no longer shook like it. The weakness was still there, but there was something different now. a strange force forming, growing up slow, but constant, as if every second in that place, I was rebuilding myself in a way I didn't recognize he was still there, too close, as if distance wasn't an option, as if the space between us didn't really exist. I felt it when it moved, just one step, but enough to change everything. The air got heavier, denser, harder to ignore. That presence dominated everything, including me. His eyes were still locked on mine. As if you were waiting, as if measuring something I still didn't understand, but it already affected me. More than it should do, you feel, he repeated. But this time, there was no doubt, it was confirmation. As if my every reaction already answered me. I tried to deny, even without words, even without strength, but my body betrayed me. My breathing changed, my heart accelerated, and that energy moved again, stronger, more alive, as if responding to him, as if called. As if I had no choice. Wrong, the word came out before I could stop it, weak, but loaded with everything I still tried to hold on to, of everything I still wanted to deny. His eyes darkened, but there was no anger, no irritation. There was something worse. Sure, you don't understand. His voice came low, controlled but firm, and before I could react, his hand moved again, this time not to hold me, but to touch my wrist. Contact was immediate, and the reaction to the energy inside me exploded without warning. No control, climbing up my arm, spreading across my chest, taking it all. My breath hitched, my body arched, and a sound escaped my throat. Stronger this time, more real, more impossible to hide. His eyes didn't look away. Not for a second, as if I was waiting for exactly that, as if that confirmed everything. I tried to pull my arm, but I couldn't. Not because of him, but because my own body. I didn't want to move away, and that terrified me. Feel it. His voice got lower. Nearest, almost a whisper, but loaded with something impossible to ignore. I didn't respond, didn't need. Because the answer was there in each reaction, in every fast beat, in every part of me who no longer obeyed. As before, this is not weakness. His words cut right through without hesitation, no room for doubt. My chest tightened, because that was the word they always used, the one they always defined, the one that always destroyed me weak. And now he denied as if it had no value, as if it had never been true. That's power, the way he said, left no room for questioning. It was absolute, unquestionable, like everything about him. My mind tried to refute, tried to find logic, tried to understand, but my body, I had already accepted the energy, kept moving, more stable, now more organized, as if lining up, fitting in, becoming something real, something that could no longer be ignored. I closed my eyes for a moment, but not to run away, because there was no more escape. When I opened it again, he was still there, closer, more intense, more present, as if every second deepened, that no chance of going back. They didn't know his voice was lower, but there was something different, something darker, most dangerous. As if you were talking about something bigger, from something beyond me. Beyond that room, beyond that moment. My body reacted again, but this time, it wasn't pain, it was recognition, as if that phrase had awakened something, something that was hidden, something that was being protected, or maybe hidden from myself. I tried to talk, but the words didn't come, because for the first time, I wasn't sure of what was true, of what I was becoming. From what he saw when you looked at me, but he knew I felt in the way you watched, in the way he reacted, in the way he didn't hesitate, as if there was no doubt, just wait, just time, as if all that was already decided. Long before I understood, and in the middle of that heavy silence, a certainty began to slowly, inevitable, irreversible. They didn't destroy me, do not complete being. And what's left was no longer what they left to die. It was something else, something I still didn't understand, but it could no longer be and the more it grew, but I realized that the real danger never been abandoned. But yes, what would I become after that? What would I become after this? The question didn't need to be asked, because the answer was already starting to take shape inside me, strong, constant, impossible to ignore. The energy was no longer a whisper, it was no longer something distant. She moved with intention, with direction, like you know exactly what to do. Even if I didn't know, my body no longer felt the same. The weakness still existed, but I was being pushed back, replaced with something new, something that didn't fit with who I was, who they said I was. Like I sucked in the air deeper, this time without the same difficulty without the same pain, and that alone, it was already wrong, 'cause nothing about me should be getting better this fast. Not after what they did, not after how they left me. He was still there observing. But now there was something different. It wasn't just analysis, it was expectation, as if you were waiting the exact moment where something would happen. I tried to get up again, and this time my body responded slow, unstable, but he responded. I supported myself with my hands feeling the surface. Beneath my fingers, feeling your own weight, feeling control, even if small, even if fragile. Still, it was mine. For a moment, I forgot about him. I forgot the overwhelming presence, forgot the call. I focused only on myself in the movement, in the feeling, in the fact that I was still there. But it was a mistake, because in the next second, I felt the connection reacted strong, immediate, as if my attempt at independence had caused something. I looked up, and I found his darker, more intense, most dangerous don't walk away. His voice was low, but this time there was something more rigid, more possessive, as if that simple action, it was something he didn't accept. My body froze, not out of fear, but for answer, as if that order had real weight, as if it were impossible to ignore. This irritated me, a new sensation, quick, hot. I don't belong to you. The words came out before I could think, weak, but loaded with everything that was left of me. Who I was, or did you think it was the silence that came after it, was different, denser, most dangerous, but there was no explosion, there was no violent reaction. Worse, he just watched, and a slight movement passed through the eye. Almost imperceptible, but I saw something between interest and something darker. You belong to what is the answer, came calmly, controlled, but absolute, as if there was no room for discussion, as if that were law. My chest tightened because that phrase, it made sense, even if I didn't want to, even if I resisted. The energy inside me reacted. Again, stronger, as if you agree, as if recognizing, and that left me breathless. I looked away, trying to escape, but there was nowhere to go. Not even inside me, nor outside. He took another step closer, now too close. Close enough so that I could feel the heat, so that I could feel the breath, for me to feel the control. Everything in me reacted. Without permission, no choice, the connection tightened. As if it were settling for good, as if there was no turning back. You don't understand what you carry. His voice dropped even more, almost a whisper, but every word seemed to stick inside me, as if something woke up. Something hidden, something that was always there waiting. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, images came quick, confused, but strong shadows, voices, eyes that weren't mine. Sensations I've never experienced, but they looked familiar. My body reacted, the energy went up again. More intense, more out of control, and this time was not contained. She escaped. I felt like a pressure leaving me, expanding, taking the space. The air has changed, heavy, loaded, alive. When I opened my eyes, his look was different. There was no doubt, there was no hesitation. Confirmation only. Finally, the word came out, low, but loaded with something. Something that made my body react again. Something that made that energy inside me stabilize. As if I had found what I was looking for. I didn't understand. Not completely, but I felt in the way everything inside me lined up. As if pieces finally, if they fit, even though I didn't know yet what was. The complete drawing. My breathing slowed down, but my heart doesn't. He hit hard, constant. How to respond? No to fear, but something bigger, something inevitable. And in the middle of that silence, I realized, for the first time since I was left in the snow, I wasn't trying to survive anymore. I was transforming, and that it was much more dangerous. Why survive never scared anyone, but what comes after always scares. And the way he looked at me, he wasn't scared. He was waiting, as if he knew that what was before him was still far away, to show everything he was capable of. And for the first time, I started to feel this too. Even without understanding, even without controlling, even without completely accepting, something inside me, I wanted to find out how far would that go? And what would happen when there was nothing left holding what I was becoming? What would happen when there was nothing left holding? The question didn't need an answer, because at that moment, I felt the energy inside me change. No longer unstable, no more out of control. She started to organize, like I finally found direction, as if something inside me had really woken up. My breathing became more steady, deeper. My body still carried marks, I was still weak, but it wasn't the same anymore. Nothing about me was the same anymore. I looked at my hand slowly, as if seeing it for the first time. Fingers no longer trembled. The skin is still marked, but there was something there. Something subtle, almost invisible, but present, a feeling of strength reply, as if my body was listening something I still didn't understand. He didn't look away, not for a second. As if every change, it was exactly what he expected, as if none of that was a surprise for him. What do you feel? The question came lower this time, less imposition, more precision. As if the answer matters in a different way, I hesitated, not for lack of words, but because I didn't know how to explain. Because it wasn't something simple. It wasn't something I had ever experienced. It's like I stopped trying to find something that made sense, but there was no comparison, there was no memory. There was nothing that would explain that he got closer. No rush, but straight as if you already knew. That I couldn't answer, as if the answer wasn't necessary. His hand went up, this time slower, more aware, as if avoiding provoking something bigger. When your fingers touched my chin, lifting my face, the reaction was immediate, but not like before. It wasn't pain, it wasn't chaos, it was alignment, as if everything inside me, if it adjusted, if you connected, if it stabilizes my breath, hitched for a second. But not out of weakness. It was intensity. It was excess. It was something too big to fit in silence. His eyes darkened again, but this time there was no tension. There was certainty. They broke you. His voice was low, but loaded. I felt the impact because it was true. Every word, every look, every abandonment. They didn't just reject me. They destroyed me. Or at least, that's what they tried, but they didn't. Finish, he continued, without looking away, without relieving the weight, and something about the way he said it made everything inside me react. The energy moved again, firmer, stronger, as if you agree. As if completing the sentence, they didn't finish because I was still there, because something in me had not been deleted. It had not been destroyed. It had been hidden. Saved, waiting. My chest rose and fell slowly, but every breath now carried something different. Something heavier, more present, more real. I'm not what they said, the words came out before. I thought firm, even if low, even if still fragile, but there was truth in them. More than ever, he didn't respond right away, but I saw the way his gaze lightly, almost imperceptible, but enough as if I confirmed something, as if that was the answer I was waiting for. No. The word came straight without hesitation. You are not. The break was short, but heavy. You never were. That was in the air. Like a sentence, like a truth I hadn't yet fully accepted. But I could no longer deny. My body reacted again, but this time, it wasn't the energy, it was something deeper. Something emotional, something I had buried. Anger, but not the same as before, not the empty, not the sadness. It was something else, cold, Clara, targeted, like I finally have a target, as if it finally made sense. They took everything from me. My voice came out firmer, even if low, even if controlled. But there was something there, something that didn't exist before. Strength. He watched me without interrupting, without reacting, just absorbing, and then he replied, wrong. The word fell heavy, but it didn't hit me like it used to, because this time I felt they didn't take away. The pause was longer, more loaded, they revealed. My heart accelerated, but not out of fear. It was something else, something that grew, something that fit, something that made sense, even though it's dangerous, because if that was true, if everything that happened, it wasn't the end, but the beginning, so what was I becoming? It wasn't a mistake, it wasn't weakness, it was no coincidence, it was a consequence, and consequences cannot be avoided. The energy inside me stabilized once again, stronger, more present, as if I accepted, as if I understood. And for the first time since it all started, I didn't feel like running away. I didn't feel like denying. I just breathed, and I let it exist. Even without control, even without knowing where I was going, because deep down I already knew there was no turning back. And maybe there has never been a choice. From the moment I was left in the snow, everything was already in motion. And now I finally started to understand that wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of something that they would never be able to control. The phrase kept echoing inside me, like a newly discovered truth, but also as a warning, because if they couldn't control, so someone could, or worse, something inside me could get out of control. The energy started moving again. Different this time, denser, more concentrated, as if being compressed, as if being prepared. I felt it in my chest first, a slow pressure, constant growing, little by little. My breath hitched for a second. And this time, it wasn't intensity. It was excessive. It was like trying to contain something too big in too small a space. I put my hand on my chest instinctively, as if I could hold it, but it was no use. Nothing would help, because it wasn't physical. Not completely, he realized. Of course, you noticed his gaze changed instantly. Focused, calculated, no room for error. Stop, the voice came firmly direct, but it was no ordinary order. It was different, like it wasn't just for me, but for that inside of me. And for a second it worked. The pressure hesitated, as if it had been interrupted, but it didn't disappear. It just changed. It spread fast by my arms behind my back, climbing up the neck, invading every part. My body reacted. This time, without control, I fell to my knees, the dry impact against the ground, poorly registered cause. Everything inside of me, it was too high, too strong. The energy no longer wanted to be contained. She wanted to leave. I felt as an expansion, as if something is being pushed out. The air around changed again, but now it wasn't just heavy. It was unstable. How to respond? Like I'm being affected for what was happening to me. Look at me. His voice cut through the chaos. Stronger, firmer. I tried. But it was difficult to stay focused, difficult to maintain consciousness. But still, I looked up, and when I did that, everything changed. The connection lined up again, but not smooth, not controlled. It was abrupt, intense, as if two forces had collided. The pressure in my chest exploded. Not out, but inside, reorganizing, compressing again. But this time under control, not mine. My breath came back, disorderly, quick. But he came back. The world around stopped, shaking, the air stabilized, but I still felt everything, every piece, every part of that energy. Now, clearer, more defined, more aware. You need to learn to hold. His voice came lower now, but still firm, still absolute, as if that wasn't a suggestion, but a necessity. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I was still trying to understand what had just happened, because it wasn't just strength. It wasn't just power. It was something bigger, something alive, something that reacted, that was shaped. Who responded? Not just me, but him too. This shouldn't be possible, but it was happening, and that made everything more dangerous. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to organize, trying to feel. And that's when I realized something I hadn't noticed. The energy inside me, it was no longer she was connected, divided, but connected. One part responded to me, unstable, growing. Other responded to him, steady, controlled, and both existed at the same time. My heart raced again, but now for another reason. Understanding that wasn't just waking up. It wasn't just survival. It was a connection that shouldn't exist. But now, it was impossible to ignore. I opened my eyes slowly, and I met his gaze, already waiting, as if I knew exactly what I had just realized. My voice was lower, slower, controlled. This is not just mine. The silence that followed was confirmation, but he still responded, no. The word came calmly, but loaded with meaning. Never been. That hit different, deeper, most dangerous, because everything changed if it was never just mine. So from the beginning, since before the snow, since before the pain, since before everything, there was already something bigger, something that now was awake. Inside me and attached to it. My body was still on the floor, but I no longer felt fallen. I felt gift for the first time, completely aware of what was happening, even without fully understanding. I took a deep, feeling the energy respond, but now she didn't explode, didn't get lost. She stayed there strong, but contained, waiting, as if waiting direction. And by the way he watched, by the way everything lined up, by the way that connection grew stronger every second, one thing became clear. That wasn't the end of the lack of control. It was the beginning of dominion, and domain always comes with a price. Even though I still didn't know what it would be, I could already feel that when this price was charged, there would be no room to. Because some forces, after they wake up, do not accept being ignored. They demand, they take, they transform. And I was no longer someone who could pretend that none of this was happening. I was no longer someone who could pretend, and maybe this was the exact moment where everything inside me stopped resisting. Not because I wanted to, but why? Fight against it? It no longer made sense. Energy was no longer an invader. It was no longer something strange. She was part fundamental, undeniable. And the more I tried to deny, the more she grew stronger. I took a deep breath, slowly feeling every part of me respond. But now there was no chaos. There was no break. There was a presence, raw control, still unstable, but real. I placed my hands on the floor, and I got up. No hesitation this time, without fail, without falling. My body responded, as if you already knew, as if it was already ready. The change was silent, but absolute. And I felt in the way the air felt different, in the way the space around reacted to my presence, in the way that connection I no longer pressured. She fit in, as if it had always been like this. He didn't move, but his eyes followed every detail, each adjustment, every breath. There was no surprise, their confirmation only. As if that moment was inevitable from the beginning, I stood before him for the first time, without feeling smaller, without feeling broken, without feeling lost. There were still questions, many, but they no longer came from despair. They came from understanding, of recognition of what I was becoming. And what did that mean? I can feel my voice was lower, but firm, no tremor. Without a doubt, it wasn't a question, it was a realization. I can feel everything. The air, the energy, the connection, everything clearer, more defined, as if I had spent my whole life seeing the world incompletely, and now finally he took a step forward, slowly but straight. The distance between us has decreased, but there was no tension, not like before. Now there was balance. You finally stopped fighting. His voice was lower, but different, less hard, less imposing, and for the first time, I didn't hear it as a provocation. I just accepted because it was true. Fight against that was fighting against myself, and I had already wasted too much time doing this. I didn't respond with words, but something inside me responded. The energy moved, soft, aligned, and the connection between us got stronger. No pain, no conflict, just existed. He reached out his hand again, but this time, there was no hesitation. I looked for a brief second, not out of fear, but by choice, and then I accepted. When our fingers touched, there was no explosion. There was no lack of control. There was stability, as if two parts were finally working how they should. My heart slowed down, but it didn't lose strength. He hit hard, constant, into, not just with me, but with everything. I closed my eyes for a moment, and this time no confusing images came. Clarity came, organized sensations, memories that weren't just pain, but also strength, resistance, survival. I wasn't broken, I was shaped. The realization came without a doubt, no fear. And when I opened my eyes again, I knew, not by words, but for everything I felt, for everything I was. Now they never discarded me. They never destroyed me. They just didn't understand what they were leaving behind. My breathing came out, slow, controlled, and for the first time since it all started, I didn't feel angry thinking about them. I felt something different, something colder, more accurate, sure, because now it didn't matter what they did anymore. It mattered what it created, and what did that create? Could not be erased, couldn't be denied, couldn't be stopped. I looked up at him, and there was no more distance. There was no more confusion. Just understanding, not complete, but enough. The silence, it was no longer heavy. It was firm, stable, like everything around, like everything inside me. I didn't need to ask, I didn't need to hear, because I already knew. What was I? What did that call me? And what would come from there? Not as an imposed destiny, but as an inevitable consequence. From what was awakened, I was no longer the person that was left, the snow that was behind me, along with the pain, along with weakness, along with the version of me who accepted being defined by others. Now I defined, even without knowing all the limits, even without knowing the full extent. I knew enough not to back down, not to deny, not to run away. And that changed everything, because what is born from abandonment, it may even start in pain. But when you find strength, stop being a victim, and it becomes something that no one is prepared to face.